Welcome back to BadgerBlitz TV, your Rivals.com destination for all things Wisconsin athletics. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by Rivals.com national analyst and my good friend, Clint Cosgrove. Clint, it's the best part of the week, baby.
Best part of the week, and I love the hat, man. That's beautiful. I have that hat, but I kind of worn it a little too much, and it's not that bright.
So I've had it's just because of the way the light is hitting this bad boy right now, and B, I've had this in my closet since like 2014. I want to say I got it, like one of my buddies who used to work for Rivals had an extra one and handed it to me and like let me have it. It's like, okay, cool, like whatever, this is awesome, and I've had it ever since. So this hat may be old. There's a lot of new things going on in Madison, including a new offensive coordinator in Phil Longo, who comes over from North Carolina, where he led the Tar Heels to some probably the best 4-year offensive stretch in the history of that program, finished in the top 15 in yards every single season while he was there. What was really interesting to me, though, he comes from an air raid background. He learned at the knee of Mike Leach, but the thing is, like, he's adaptable. 2 years ago in 2020, they had the 11th ranked rushing attack in the country. So while it may be an air raid based system, quote unquote, clearly to me, it's an adaptable system. What are your thoughts here on this hire, and how do you think it's going to affect the types of athletes that they are trying to recruit on the offense?
Well, I mean, he was part of a huge turnaround at North Carolina under Mac Brown. You talk about adaptability. One thing that I will say with that is Mac Brown he's really big at playing to his team's strengths. There's certain things he wants to accomplish. I can't remember what the 3 things are, but he feels that you're going to win almost every game if you win 1, the turnover battle, 2, the explosive plays, and I can't remember the third one, but turnover battle and explosive plays. So I'm sure that's ingrained in Longo now. So they're going to protect the football, and they're going to take their shots. And I think that's cool. I mean, it's going to be an offense that spreads you horizontally. It puts, the quarterback can run usually in that offense. It puts a lot of stress on a defense. And like I said, and this comes from Mac, is making the most out of the talent that you have. He's developed, which is great. You talk about the run game. A lot of these teams that are known as these wide open offenses or spread offenses and all of that, you look at Tennessee and you just think of them, throwing the ball down the field every time. But what they're doing is they spread you so wide splits, and really spreads the defense horizontally, and it creates 5-man box and running lanes. And that's why they have had success running the ball. But, you're going to need some playmakers, but I believe he'll adapt, and he'll make the most out of what they have. The offensive line is less important usually in those type of offenses because they're not protected long, and they're getting a lot of one-on-one or combo blocks and then work into the next level. So you don't maybe necessarily need as much depth. You don't need as many 5-star road grader types. Now,
speaking
really
of that,
maximize your skill.
Longo is bringing his offensive line coach from North Carolina with him in Jack Bicknell Jr., and he is someone who, from the limited amount that I know about him and the research I've done in the last 18 hours since this news broke, seems to be pretty well respected, at least on the North Carolina message boards. So you can take that for what it's worth. But he seems to be relatively well respected. Well respected from what I've read. Now, I've probably missed a bunch of people trashing him because that's what we do. I mean, that's why we're on message boards, isn't it, in the first place?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that those posts are out there.
A positive message board means he's got to be somewhat good because they hate everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited to see a new direction in the offensive line. The last couple seasons have not been vintage units. It is also exciting to just have the prospect, if you're a Badger fan, of Braylon Allen running against a 6-man box.
Yeah.
So,
or 5-man box.
I mean, yeah, it could be very exciting, especially considering the fact that they will be bringing in a new quarterback. And they've still got Miles Burkett on the roster. They have an incoming freshman in Cole LaCrue, but we know that the Badgers are going to be hitting the transfer portal. And so there are tons of quarterbacks in the portal. Everyone's looking for a new home. Yeah. Everyone's playing musical chairs. The big name is obviously Jacoby Criswell, who is from UNC, probably going to be coming along to Madison. But I want to play a little game of hypothetical here with you, Clint. If you could have one quarterback from the portal to bring into this Wisconsin team under Phil Longo, who is the guy that you would go after?
I mean, Criswell makes sense just because he's with Longo. He hasn't done much. He hasn't played much. I'm going to go kind of outside the box. Guys like Phil Jerkovich and, are more typical Wisconsin type quarterbacks. In a perfect world, you could get a Spencer Sanders or a DJ, but that's likely not happening. So I'm going to go with a guy that I know his dad, and I know he is a very, very impressive player with a ton of upside. He's a young quarterback coming from Texas Tech, and his name's Donovan Smith. His dad is the running backs coach for the Giants. And Donovan is a player. Now, he started the year as the starter at Texas Tech, and he put up big numbers, big rushing numbers, big passing numbers. So he's a true dual threat. He is a big kid. He's got the running skills of a running back, and he's got the passing skills and arm talent of a pocket passer. The reason I think he lost his starting job came down to the fact that he was turning the ball over. But it was his first year really as the main guy. He had split time in the past. He's still young. He understands the game. And you get that decision-making down, this kid could be lethal. I mean, the type that passes for 2,000-3,000 yards and runs for another 1,000, especially in an offense like Phil Longo's. He's kind of in the same, breed as the guy that they have down there right now. So that would be my pick. I don't know if he's trying to come and play in the North. But he's moved around. His dad's a football coach, and like I said, he's out in New York right now. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. He might be waiting to see if his dad gets a head coaching job and go there. But I would definitely put in a call to Donovan if I am the Badgers, because especially in the offense that they're supposedly bringing in, you have the dual threat quarterback, and then you got the Braylon on top of it. I mean, the sky's the limit really to what they could do, because it would just put so much pressure on the defense. I was going to look up some stats of his.
Well, while you are doing that, let me make my pitch. So anyone who follows me on social media or has read any of the BadgerBlitz.com message boards knows that I have a guy. And yes, maybe it's part of the fact that, he shares the same last name as my mom. But Brennan Armstrong is that dude. He was the total wrong fit for a new system this year under Tony Elliott, the one that he brought from Clemson over to there. You go back 2 years, or not just last season, 2021, I should say. Brennan Armstrong was arguably the most dynamic quarterback in the country. He had, what was it? I think 40 something total touchdowns. And threw for 4,400 yards, ran for 259 scores. Like, he was doing it all against Power 5 competition in the ACC, and he just took that team on his back by himself, and obviously just didn't work in the new system that was brought in. He's in the portal. He's an experienced guy. Yes, he only has one season left. That's going to be the knock on him. If you bring any kid in, I don't know how many years Donovan has left on him, but Criswell will have, I believe, 3 years of eligibility left. That does make a difference. But if you want to win right now, you can see a guy who has put up big numbers and big stats and will compete, isn't afraid to lower his shoulder. I love the kid's ruggedness and his leadership, and he's someone that I would be going after hard. But again, I don't get paid that kind of money, and I don't know if I think he meshes with Longo, because I think his skill set meshes really well with what Longo wants to do. But I mean, you could tell me that Donovan Smith is going to fit great, and I would completely believe you there too.
Well, you look at our transfer portal rankings, and for anybody who hasn't looked at our transfer portal rankings, and we have a whole transfer portal page. It's like a whole new rivals for the transfer portal. You got to go and check it out because it's got a lot of great information. But your man Armstrong is actually the third rated quarterback transfer in this entire class, and you've got me sold on him just from listening to you talk about him. I remember him a couple years ago. Big dude, can throw it, can run it. And then you look at the similarities between Virginia and Wisconsin, both high academic schools. A lot of they're recruiting a lot of the same type of kid. And the knock is 1 year, but if you're fickle and you want to get this thing rolling right away, and you want a guy who can step in and play right away, I mean, that's probably the guy if you can get him, because and then you bring in LaCrue, maybe you bring in another guy, a younger guy, and then these guys get time to develop, and you get that first year done under the belt with a big time quarterback. So I love that pick. He's rated way higher than Donovan is.
Hey, but you know what?
Quarterback ranking.
We both know that ratings aren't perfect. We do our best to project, but we both know that ratings aren't perfect. So, and you're the guy who sees the physical traits way better than I do. I can see the on-field production, but you can see the underlying, physiology and anatomy that goes into making these guys big-time studs. Now, moving to the prep ranks, big-time studs, there are a couple who are visiting Madison this weekend for the Badgers, and both obviously are former Cincinnati commits who are coming up for officials. Lot of intrigue and rumors and excitement about these guys. We're going to start with Khamari Anderson, the big tight end out of the Michigan powerhouse program, Cass Tech. Wisconsin has done well in Michigan, has not done well at Cass Tech, specifically tapping into that pipeline, Clint. That could be a huge game changer for them as a program. So tell me what you think about A, Cass as a program, and then B, Anderson as a prospect.
Cass puts out a ton of players year in and year out. I mean, you look at guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones. They had an awesome quarterback who got into some trouble. Jairo Campbell ended up at a D2 school, won a national championship there. The running back from Ohio State a couple years ago. I mean, they churn out talent. Now they're a little down compared to what they had been over some time. Their longtime coach, Thomas Wilcher, he took a job, I believe, at Michigan or Michigan State. And so, they kind of rebuilt. But, I mean, there's talent across the board there. The 4-star, 5-star talent every single year. They've got a freshman that we talked about earlier in the year who's a stud. I mean, that would be a heck of a pipeline. So the other thing there is Khamari is not only a great player with incredible upside. Actually, his older brother is a center at Michigan, who was also a 4-star recruit. But Khamari is so versatile, so athletic, great size, and he is just scratching the surface of what he will be. Tons of upside. He can run. He and what people don't realize, he's probably just as good of a defensive lineman as he is a tight end. So he brings that to the table as well. Extremely intelligent kid, very analytical, plays the game hard, absolutely loves the game. And I love him as a kid. I mean, he is great to deal with. He's just so well thought out. And, of all the tight ends, and I wrote about him recently, he has as much upside. Maybe Deuce Robinson probably has the highest ceiling, but, I put Khamari up there with Jackson McGowan as well, who was another Cincinnati commit, as a guy that could have as much upside and NFL potential as any tight end in this class. There's just so much to like about him. Now this year, he didn't get a lot of balls, and it had nothing to do with him. It was more a product of the way their offense went. But this kid can make plays. He's a receiving threat. He can line up on the ball. He can be a jumbo slot. He can split out. He can do a little bit of everything. And, I just see all upside and positive things with Khamari. If Wisconsin were to land him, I mean, when was the last time? Maybe Alvarez's grandson that was a 4-star tight end.
No, Ferguson was a 5.7 in Rivals. He was a high 3. The last 4-star tight end, I believe, was Kyle Peniston out of California back in the class of, what would that have been, 14 or 15? I'm sure someone's going to correct me on this. There may have been one since then, but I think 4-star true tight end. I think there have been a couple athletes who requalified as tight ends who became tight ends, but true tight ends, I believe it's Pendleton, but I'm sure that someone on the board is going to correct me the second they hear this.
Yeah, well, he's that caliber of player. I don't know if that guy turned out being any good, but I can't say enough about Khamari, and his film doesn't tell the whole story. He's a better player than he is, and he is so physically impressive. You look at some of the pictures of him too. He is rocked up, and he's a big kid, and he's ready to roll, and he'll definitely be a contributor at Wisconsin if he were to end up there.
Well, I know that
he's got Alabama offers, LSU, like that's the type of player he is, and they're pursuing him. And just his connection with Fickle and them, that gives him an edge in it. And I mean, geez, if I'm Wisconsin, I'm excited if I land a player like Khamari. Well, not to mention the pipeline that you talked about.
I'd also be excited to land Braedyn Moore. This guy, I knew about Anderson before this. I didn't know as much about Braedyn Moore before I started digging in, which I love to do as part of this. We get to sort of figure out, okay, who we're going to break down this week, and I get to dig in a little bit more on some of these guys that I don't necessarily know as well. This kid, his athleticism is unique. He has an ability to have the tight space acceleration that is necessary if you want to be great on offense or defense, right? I mean, if you're playing corner or D-back, you have to be able to come out of your breaks super fast. You have to be able to flip your hips fast. He does this. If you're on offense, that's why he's listed as an athlete, because I think this kid could be just as good a receiver as he could be a D-back, but
he is.
And he plays with an edge. Like, this is the kind of kid that gets me when I put on the highlight film. I was like, oh my God, I get super jacked up for kids who play like this, just downhill, full speed, like just, I don't know. I love it. So tell me either I'm right or I'm wrong.
You're right. And this is a unique one because I kind of stumbled upon Braedyn, and that's why I know of him so well. So I'm at the state championship games. Now, in my old job at scouting, my job was I had to know about everybody before they had the offers, before they were on the websites, and get them to my clients to give them a heads up on that and gather all the information. So in the past, I probably would have known about him. I show up to the game and pregame, and I look at this kid, and I'm like, he's not on my list. He doesn't have a profile. And I was just looking at him physically and moving in pregame. And I was like, please, God, be a good player. And he was a big time player. He made one of the most insane catches that I've ever seen. He made a big catch the same night that went viral. And this catch was every bit as good or better, down the sideline, separating from the defender, getting his foot in. And you talk about him being a great receiver, but I do think his highest upside, just from a speed and explosiveness and NFL type evaluation, is on defense. He's that hybrid safety, outside linebacker, corner. He's over 6'2", probably, I don't know. This is the play right here that I'm talking about, the catch. I was at this game and it was insane. He got his foot in, they reviewed it and everything. But he's that guy who can cover like a corner. He's physical like an outside linebacker, and he is a downhill safety that also has range. This kid is a no-brainer. He is a perfect fit for Wisconsin. He can do a little bit of everything. He'll be a special teams contributor right out the gate, and he's another kid that just loves football. He's an Ohio kid at a school that football is very important, and I was just so excited when I saw him in pregame because he looks like Adonis. He's like a Greek god out there. He's got a 12-pack, got his jersey tucked up and jacked. And then, from the very first play, he was doing big things out there. So gotten to know him well, talked to him recently. I think Wisconsin will be right in the mix of this. This is a borderline 4-star kid as well. And, he was we were texting the other day. He's like, I didn't get to play safety as much as I would have liked this year. I think they played him more at corner and receiver, but he's going to be a great fit, and especially with the way football has gone today. Just his ability and versatility to when defenses get stuck in packages where you can't sub because offenses are running tempo, and the only time that you get time to sub is if they sub themselves. He's the type of player that can kind of go in any package. He could be in a dime, a nickel, your base package, whatever it may be. And because he has the versatility to, line up over a slot, to play safety, to come down and be a linebacker. He's the type of player that has become very valuable in this game. You see him pull the trigger right there. He is a physical kid, like I said, and he's just twitched up. All the body mechanics. He plays underneath his pads. Is like you said, his short space explosiveness is fantastic. Great lateral movement. He's not a burner, but he runs well. He runs more than well enough to be a big time player at college level. I think he is the type that could be an all Big Ten, caliber kid if Wisconsin were to end up landing him in the end. But, you talk about him, personality fit, loves the game of football, all of that stuff. He checks all of those boxes.
Yeah. With Wisconsin moving to that 3-3-5 that they're going to under Tressel and Fickle, I mean, that star role effectively that is, will be a centerpiece of the defense. I mean, he could fit right in something
He's
like
built
that.
For it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think coming out of the gate, I think on the roster right now, Hunter Wohler fits that role so freaking well. He's going to be a beast next year, in my opinion, assuming he steps into that position. Either way, we're going to see. It's going to be very exciting. It's a very exciting time right now to be just in and around the Wisconsin program. There's so much happening. Make sure that you are following all of it over at BadgerBlitz.com. The message boards right now are just popping off. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe now. BadgerBlitz.com. He's Clint Cosgrove at Rivals_Clint. I'm Matt Perkins at _Perko_. We will be back here next week talking more recruiting, by then we'll probably get maybe some commitments. There'll be more offers. There'll be more guys coming in on officials. The fun never stops here at Badger Blitz TV. So until next time, Clint, we will see you guys in the den.
In the den. See ya.